Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be discussing some trending political issues in our country, starting with President Weah's national address to the nation in the wake of the July 26th bloody incident. We're also going to be looking at Honorable Kolubah's press conference and the formation of the Opposition Defense Unit. Last but not the least, we're going to be looking at the Unity Party's elections in Banka. What are the implications? The new face of the Unity Party, what does it symbolize in relationship to 2023? With me to discuss this issue, I have our political analyst, Mr. Mohamed Sharif, who's joining us from Philadelphia. We should also note that Mr. Sharif is a proud product of WAPLO Institute in Kilipo, Kanwiken. Comrade Sharif, welcome to the show.
Dennis, thanks for having me. It's always good to be here.
We want to also welcome FOL Chief Political Analyst and an ardent supporter of the CDC, known as CDC Pape, Mr. Wilmot Wetty Kuni, who's joining us also from Philadelphia. Mr. Kuni, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure always.
Last, definitely not the least, we are joined by Mrs. Tarloh Mona Kwiwonkpa, who is joining us for the first time on Tough Talking Thursday. Mrs. Kwiwonkpa is a firebrand when it comes to Liberian political issue and also a medical practitioner. Mrs. Kwiwonkpa, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Also, your first time on Tough Talking Thursday, we want to say welcome to the show. Enjoy your time here and let's talk tough. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. Just in case you're wondering, let me, we play the president address from the beginning, but series of events happened. On July 26th, we had this.
So we are, first year, one. So one of the soup guy.
That was July 26th when soup student Christopher Walter Susulu Sivili was brutalized by members of CDC COP. The president issued a statement saying CDC COP is now part of the auxiliary of CDC and mandated the Justice Ministry to effect an arrest of those perpetrators. You listen to the president's statement. So I want us to talk briefly about the president's statement. Starting with you, Mr. Kuni. I know we spoke about this some time ago, but the president's statement did it come a little late? Let me hear your reaction to the president's statement. What do you make of it?
Well, I think the president's statements reflect the sentiments of almost every Liberian that violence has no place in our political discourse. We have a huge democratic space. We should be able to operate in that space without violence. And anybody that introduces violence into that space should be condemned. I also believe that the president's statement reflects who the president is. The president, by his own nature, is a very peaceful man. He's conflict averse. He doesn't seek conflict here and there. And so he was very clear, if you support him, you cannot use his image, you cannot use his name, while at the same time promoting violence. So I think the statement was spot on, and it reflects almost a consensus among all Liberians, no matter what side you stand in the political process, that violence should never be used, violence should never be encouraged. And we hope that the perpetrators of this wicked act will be brought to justice, just as the president indicated.
Mr. Cooney, from a law enforcement perspective, the Justice Ministry is the one that carries on law enforcement for the government. Is it normal, or is it the way it is for the president to mandate the Justice Ministry 5 to 6 days later before effecting an arrest? Or is that interference with the law enforcement aspect of the government?
Well, for me, if you ask me as a law enforcement professional, the incident that occurred, very disturbing, very public. I don't think really you needed a presidential mandate to do something. My reaction to these things, everybody waiting for the president to say something before something happened. The role of the police is to maintain public order, is to maintain public safety, to arrest and prosecute criminals. The police proceed from the proposition that an arrest will be made when there is a probable cause to believe that a crime is committed or a crime will be committed. Now, if you watch that video from the incident, all of the probable cause exists for the police to have sprung into action and do something without waiting for the president to say anything. The regrettable thing about this thing is that after the president made a statement, the police now arrest 7 individuals. And what that portrays is the fact that it reinforces the notion that other people have that, if the president doesn't say anything, something can be done. This is an action the police who have done all by themselves without even waiting for Justice Ministry directive, without waiting for presidential order. It was well within the purview of the police as the arm of government that maintained public order to have acted way ahead of the president's pronouncement. So I'm a little bit disappointed by that. I said that on the show the last time that I would have been disappointed if the police had not moved to so swiftly arrest anybody, given the fact that the evidence for this horrendous act was all over the internet.
Thank you. Let me go to Mrs. Kolubah. Mrs. Kolubah, what's your reaction to the president's address when it comes to the timeliness, the purpose, the impact, and the ramifications?
Well, thank you very much, Dennis, once again for having me. I totally would like to respectfully disagree with my countryman and also senior brother, Mr. Cooney, because it clearly shows that, President Weah is not ready to lead. President Weah, in the first place, his wife, Clara Weah, on November 5th, had an interview with the New York Times. And in that interview, she made it clear that he is not ready to lead, but his countrymen and clansmen, the sentiments, they are using that to make him become president. The fact that for 16,000 hours, 7 days to be precise, President Weah did not come out to the Liberian people to adamantly react and condemn that in the most powerful means. He didn't do it. What he did, he advocated as ambassador, talk about himself. It's okay, he can talk about himself, he's our president. But the deception that is within the CDC government at this time is so rampant to the point where George Weah made a song called Liar Man. He's the liar man. Let us be real. And I must say this, I didn't come on the show to pretend, because our people need to know that our president right now is not capable of leading the country. He took an oath. His inaugural address was to protect every Liberian, regardless of your tribe, sexual. But we have instances where President Weah, several incidents, he never come up to speak. Case in point, Tara Urick. When that election went on, a female, Tara Urick, he is an ambassador who advocated for peace, was all over the place. He never came out to speak against that. Now, the university students, the CDC protested throughout the 12 years of Mr. Selly. And My brother Kuning can attest to that because you were all around dancing with Ellen Johnson too. What happened on July 26th for the president to have come up after 16,000 hours and also 7 days, relaxed for all these time, didn't say anything, and for him to mention within the context of his speech to say that there is no CDC or COP, that's a big lie because Jefferson Koji went and certificated these guys. It's on the internet. So it clearly shows that President Weah does not know how to lead. He's out of touch. He doesn't know what is happening. And for my brother Kuning to sit here and say that the president, it's unacceptable. We need a leader, given where we came from to reach us this far. Any president who cares for the country will immediately react and ensure the police are well equipped to respond to these violence, because you cannot preach about peace when there are people in the country who are being brutally abused, killed, and the president he's just muted. So it kind of shows he's disconnected, and we need a leader who will be able to equip the police now. Dennis, I will soon turn it over to you. The fact of the matter here is that the police, the judicial system is in the president's pocket. We know that. It happened to me in Liberia. My phone got missing. I have to fight on my own the police for 1 month. They said they can't find the person. So President Weah since he's been in power, the police do not have the capacity. They don't have the equipment, even their uniforms. And because they don't take pay on time, they don't even respond to emergency. It's all because of leadership, poor leadership under President George Weah CDC-led government.
Thank you. Mr. Sharif, many believe it took the president too long. Why you think the president have to come up this time now and at the same time mandating the Justice Ministry to do what really they're supposed to do? Meanwhile, nobody lost their job. What's going on here?
First, let me also join you, Dennis, in welcoming Mrs. Kuwongba to Tough Talking Thursday. Good to see you, Mrs. Kuwongba. Okay. So the president is disingenuous. The president is not serious about the plight of the Liberian people. And so what you saw is a demonstration of the president's incompetence. That's number one. And number two, his acquiescence to violence. So at the last show, I mentioned that this president has blood in his hands now. And so he has to deal with this situation in a way that's not even going to untarnish his reputation. So forget reputation. So what he should in fact do now is to save life, ensure that Savili, Christopher Walter Sisulu Savili, nothing bad happens in the long run. I'm not a medical practitioner, but the way he was beating, the manner in which he was beating and thrown around is very serious. And so as the president of the Republic of Liberia, if he's very serious now, he needs to save lives. So this is not about his reputation. I think the president came out a week later for fear of being disinvited to the White House. Remember, he has been invited by President Joe Biden to the summit. I believe it's called the Africa Summit or some summit in the White House. So the president was invited recently. And so he's very happy for this invitation because this is going to be his first time to visit the White House, in spite of all of the millions and tens of millions of dollars of the Liberian people's resources that they spend, they've given to lobbyists and whatnot. The president has not been able to visit DC, and they put a lot of premium on that. These Liberian leaders put a lot of premium on visiting, the White House. And so George Weah came out now so that he's not disinvited from this visit. And so Dennis, at some point, I'd like to have the opportunity, maybe I should do it now, to go back and look at, what we have been doing as a people. So George Weah took a playbook from that of William V.S. Tubman, who, you know, uh, was also engaged in this sort of brutally handling his political opponents. Tuan Rare was a case in point in 1955 when he was severely beaten. He was maltreated. His body was festooned with human excrement. And just because he wrote an article in the newspaper in which he said that Tubman did not deserve re-election. There were other opponents of Tubman who were also manhandled, who were also, as we call in Liberia, disgraced in the streets of Monrovia. And so this is something that he's borrowing from the playbook of some of his predecessors, and this is very dangerous. This reminds me of something that we saw during the Civil War. And so this president has to be very careful in not plunging again this country into chaos.
Thank you, Mr. Kune. I'll play you a video. This is not the first time we see citizens being brutalized. The last time there was a report of another security officer being brutalized by the president bodyguard. Let's watch the video.
Afternoon from Painesville, where this motorcycle task force officer was allegedly beaten by a man. So we like to say welcome back. We in conversation with this motorcycle task force officer from Painesville who have alleged that he was beaten by or may identify as Gaddafi of ECAP, the president personal security, in Painesville this afternoon. So he's going to tell us more. Brother, what's your name, sir?
I'm sir.
Tengbe?
Yeah.
We understand that you were beaten by one Gaddafi. Tell us what actually transpired and what actually happened.
Actually, I regulate the affairs of motorcyclists within Peaceville. I'm the general secretary within Peaceville. I arrested a bag that was carrying 2 persons, and the rider was carrying 2 persons, and he had a slipper on his feet. So I arrested the motorbike, parked the motorbike. When I parked the motorbike to our office, on a sorting, I only saw a black Jeep. Just came, and in the fortunate, when my boy man came outside, when he person or county 1, when he came outside, county 2, when county 1 came, county 2 came outside, they whipping. But I said, I didn't want to arrest it back. On a sorting, had no opportunity, had more than 4 gunmen.
All right. So this motorcyclist regulation officer was beaten by those believed to be the bodyguard of the president, one Gaddafi. So this is not the first time we see such beating. On July 26, those who beat Christopher were civilian, the same young people. Nothing came from there. Mr. Kune, what can we say about this one? Because this is not the first time. Why is this one claiming the president's attention this time?
Dennis, again, I sometimes ponder on the unfortunate position that we all slip in when issue occur that invoke national outrage, and issue that we all have consensus on, and then how quickly these issues are politicized. I know we're in the political process. The opposition will do what they want to do, and sometimes it easily change, it easily turn issues that invoke our collective anger into partisan discussion. Look, I've been in law enforcement for more than 20 years. There is something they call institutional failure of of law enforcement in our country, just like any other institution. The problems we have in here, they're not an anomaly. These are not unprecedented acts. Police have fought police before, previously, historically. Police and army people fight. Law enforcement fight all over the place. I know we're in a new media landscape now of social media where these things now can be, loop 24 hours. But sometimes to say that these things are a failure of leadership, if we accept that measurement, then we'll be having a failure of leadership for a very long time. A very, very long time. What transpired is wrong. The president has condemned that. Everybody on this show has condemned that. And the president has taken the correct decisions for the incident to be investigated. And it looked like sometimes the president can't win. When the president doesn't talk, he didn't talk. When he talk, he delay. Everybody want to play president. They want to play president. There are conflicting demands of the president's time. The justice minister spoke on this issue immediately after it happened. People are not satisfied that the justice minister spoke. People are not satisfied that other Liberians spoke. Now, we cannot in one tune be complaining about the imperial presidency. And then when something happens quickly, we say, oh, the president did that. Everybody in the country is a baby. We should not hold anybody responsible. The only person we should hold responsible is the president. Then let's dismantle the government. Let's dismantle the legislature. Let's dismantle the police. Let's install a king who will rule by decree if we can't hold anybody responsible. What you see here, from our perspective, is a classic failure of law enforcement. And we have to lay that blame to where we should lay it. The law enforcement should not wait for a presidential mandate to respond to a crime that was in progress.
Thank you. Hold on, Mr. Kone. Let me inject something and then you can continue. Because there are a series of things that are happening before this one. Okay, let's take a listen. The group CDC COP, how the COP of some guys from the Henry Costa COP joined the CDC and became the CDC COP. The president claims he doesn't know about these people. Let's watch this.
They are here led by Ben Toba. They are here to officially join the CDC today. So this is why you are seeing on your screen. My name is Mohamed. Welcome to this live. So we ask that you share this video, invite others as we continue our live broadcast. As you can see there, Chairman Ben Toba of the Council of Patriot Viewing. He is all dressed up in white, long sleeve, white short sleeve shirt. He's here alongside with members of the Council of Patriot Viewing. They are here to.
So this was the CDC COP. That's the time they were initiated into CDC. Prior to that time, there were demonstrations, and State Major Koji threatened that, hey, anytime there's demonstration, we're going to put together a force to counter protest. Take a listen.
Ever happen on our watch? We want to say moving forward, when there is any call demonstration, as lawmakers can lead, we want to say in my official capacity, whether you call me mayor or you call me youth chairperson, we want to assure the public and international community we will be protectors of our democracy. We will be on the scene also. We will lead such forces also.
So what the people are saying is not in a vacuum. The city mayor said he was going to do this, and now that has been done. So that's why they are linking the president to this. Continue, sir.
But then let me be very clear. Like I said, we operate in a democratic space. Anybody has the right to protest. The right to protest can be exercised by any Liberian, by the city mayor, by the president, by legislator. They all have the right to protest. And this is why I'm basing my analysis on law enforcement response. It is the responsibility of law enforcement to keep the society in an orderly fashion. Law enforcement was in a position, or they have reason to know about this protest. They have all of the infrastructure to inform them that there will be a protest, irrespective of who participated in the protest. It is their responsibility to do their threat assessment, to develop their response, whether Wilmot is in the protest or Tarloh is in the protest. It doesn't matter who is in the protest. There are laws governing protests. So I'm saying if law enforcement was proactive, this protest was announced. This protest was announced. It was the responsibility of law enforcement to know who is leading the protest, who the actors are, what's the potential for violence, and develop their response appropriately.
Thank you.
Irrespective of who participates in the protest. Everybody got a right to protest. So it doesn't matter to me if Koji says he's going to lead a protest.
No, he said he's going to lead a counter-protest. He said he was going to lead anybody who was protesting. There's going to be a counter-protest. Wherever they are protesting, he's going to be there. So the group is supposed to that's what happened.
Any citizen can take that position. Again, it is law enforcement responsibility to ensure peace and order. And law enforcement fail in this regard. My criticism is more on law enforcement.
Dennis,
yeah, sure.
To this issue.
Go ahead.
The fact that Mr. Cooney going to blame this on law enforcement alone is very disingenuous. He understands the constraint, the executive involvement and control over the police. He understands very well, because this deception, we got to stop it if we really love our country. Mr. Cooney knows that. The police, we have had our counterparts, our partners who have trained the police. But the police does not have the logistics, the equipments, what is needed. So if Cooney is seeing this and he's so close to the president, by this time, Mr. Cooney should be telling us the police chief should be fired. Even by watching that video, he should be saying that Jefferson Koji, who for the most part in that video you play, Dennis, he mentioned something about blood in that very video towards the end. So Mr. Cooney should be saying these things. Don't just blame the police who don't even get paid under this government on time, let alone the army. Mr. Cooney should be saying, should be advocating to the president, Jefferson Koji, and the police director or whoever he is, or Sulu, should be dismissed. If the president is very serious about him being a peace ambassador, and like Akali here said, Mohamed said, President Weah just came up with that quick nation address. He hardly does that in the first place. He only did that because we are campaigning vehemently to ensure George Weah does not attend, because it's inviting him, looking at his record, the brutality and the killings, ritualistic killing that he doesn't even say anything about, to invite him here to the States to that kind of conference is totally, in my opinion, against the USA policy when it comes to human rights violation. So President Weah, if he's really serious, he got CD music, he said liar man. If the president is very serious, and I will appeal to my brother here, Wilmot, let him be advocating to have Jefferson Koji, who is the city mayor, who is advocating violence, brutality, teaching these guys how to be brutal and violent. He should advocate and see to it that he should be dismissed immediately. We can't play and see the Liberian people as gullible anymore, because we have live video in which so many violences, instances occur, and the president is just muted.
Yeah.
Let us be. And one thing Mr. Cooney said, because I know he will sit here, and it kind of was strange, because Ellington, Cooney was in running behind Ellen. Joey Atta, he couldn't take side. Now he's not taking side again. The issue here is that let us be, we need true. I agree the police should have done its job, but the police themselves, they are all a friend of George Weah, and that's what Tiawan Gongwa is saying. Nobody will interfere with the police. I was in Liberia. I saw what went on. If you commit a crime or violate, somebody know be person they call. When my cell phone got stolen, the same Koji call the police station. I knew the guy who stole my phone. He in the police, one of the Arab 2 people, asking us to release the criminal who reports to Koji. This is what's happening in his administration. So George Weah just hurriedly made this pronouncement only because he wants to come to America. But we're working alongside the human rights group. We will ensure if George Weah does not dismiss Koji or the police director, since Kuni is saying that the police should have done their work, in spite of all of the trainings the U.S. have given the police force in our country. And today, to have seen violence, like I said, Tara Urick had her car, she was stoned. Nobody came up to say anything. On July 26th, the day we are celebrating Liberia's 175th birthday, under George Weah, who regime, who CDC were the #1 protester under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. They carry a casket. They display all kinds of stuff. They are not tolerant to democracy and protest. So we need to ensure Kuni should tell George Weah, President Weah, if he's very want to let the Liberian people know he mean business and he's genuine with the speech, the hurriedly speech, that the content was not even strong enough, giving all the violences and stuff. He should tell the president Jefferson Koji, based on Jefferson Koji's certification of CDC, COPD, and then in the video you just showed at the end, Jefferson Koji is advocating bloodshed. The president needs to dismiss Koji. Koji needs to go to school and learn. Dismiss Koji and dismiss the police director and stand firm in upholding the rule of law in that country. But President Weah is just dilapidated, just sluggish, and nothing moves him. Because again, his wife Clara Weah said, November 5th, 2005, he is not ready to lead. And he has manifested that so many times.
Thank you.
Now, can I make some quick points here, Dennis? Because my sister referenced me a couple of times. First of all, people listening to the platform, I was never a supporter of Madam Sirleaf's government. In fact, I was one of the person considered to be a critic of Madam Sirleaf. So let get that fact straight. And the second thing is that to say that the president is doing all of these things because there is an invitation extended to Washington. And look, America determines its own interests. And from what I know, there are many metrics through which the American government know what is going on in Liberia. They know they have the infrastructure, they have the capability to know exactly what is going on in Liberia, to know who is culpable, to know who is not culpable. So all of these things about Facebook campaign to stop the president from coming to Washington, D.C. America is acting on their interests, not on Liberia interests. We have to always recognize that. America decides that it is in their interest to invite George Weah to Washington, D.C. There are infrastructures in place to know what George Weah is doing in Liberia. George Weah is not a violent man. This is the most peaceful president Liberia has ever had. There will be no reason for the United States to extend that invitation.
Mr. Kuni,
this whole thing, this is for Washington visit, really doesn't hold any water. Doesn't hold any water.
Let me say something.
Can I learn, please? Can I learn? The president said that the CDC don't have any auxiliary by the name COP. That's true. The statement is true. Group of people going to join the CDC in whatever name they think they are doesn't create a branch of the CDC. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Mr. Kuni. If President Weah is this peaceful person, why did he wait for almost a week before saying something on this incident?
Then this is why I say you're playing the imperial presidency syndrome. The justice minister spoke barely 48 hours, 24 hours when the incident occurred. The justice minister is the Attorney General of the Republic of Liberia. He condemned the act, spoke, and called on the security to investigate. But to those who subscribe to imperial presidency, that is not enough until the president speaks.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif. The senator from Lofa County, Senator Steve Zago, he's the chairman of the Senate Committee on Intelligence. He wants Mayor Koyi to be suspended for supporting this what has become bloody July 26th. Does he have a point here? You are muted.
I'm sorry. He has a point. The opposition has to do more than that. What we've seen from the opposition, and I will come back to Jefferson Kwiji in a minute, but what we've seen from the opposition so far is, releasing position statements. Dennis, this calls for a solidarity march throughout the length and breadth of Monrovia. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, whatever time, or when the brutal incident occurred, the opposition should show its weight behind the student leaders of the University of Liberia by coming out in full force in a solidarity march across the length and breadth of Monrovia and show to President Weah that this is not the way to lead. So there is a problem for me, what I see as, not so strong. The opposition has not been so strong in this instance. This is a moment for the opposition to show the Liberian people what they've got. So, if you're going to defend, human rights, this is the time. If you're going to stand up for social justice, academic freedom, the right to gather, that's what these peaceful students were doing when the violent thugs interrupted them, with their battle cries and stuff like that, reminiscent of the Civil War, reminiscent of the dark days of Liberia. That's where they throw us back into. And so we should not be visiting any of these things in peacetime. As Tiawan Gongolo has said one time, it's like, this is peacetime, but it's like, it's like we're in a war, right? You have a peacetime president who is unleashing, right? Or who is, in a way, who acquiesces to violence, even if he's not the instigator of the violence, but he acquiesces to violence. The president does nothing in the way of addressing these issues. As far as I know, as of today's date, Jefferson Kwiji still has a job. The police director still has a job. The justice minister still has a job. All these three individuals, he should fire them. They are incompetent. Either they are incompetent or they are in cahoots with these thugs, neither of which is a way forward. So these individuals need to lose their jobs right away. The president has not done that, and because the president has not done that, to me, his position is disingenuous. I'm not going to listen to you sitting there condemning. This condemnation is not even strong. The statement was very weak to me, and so he needs to really, really do more, and he hasn't done that.
So, Mr. Sharif, what do you think going to happen to those 7 guys that were arrested as a result?
Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So, what has happened to, the victims of ritualistic killings? What has happened? What investigation has been done to stand up to make sure, to ensure that the family members of these victims receive justice? What's going to happen is, Dennis, I got to tell you one thing, and perhaps you would know this, better than anyone else. It's a way, behind the camera, right? So right now, they're going to say they arrested 7 individuals, and they're all in the newspaper. So behind the camera, what they're telling them? Good job. Don't mind these people. So they're behind closed doors, away from the camera. They are giving them high fives.
No way.
And so that is what's going on at this time.
Mr. Sharif,
So
what I'm thinking there's going to be another Flanzametonic act. That is, you probably think that you are doing something for government, and because of the pressure, those guys really going to be penalized. That's what I can I can sense that
Exactly.
too.
So exactly, and you know you went back into history there. You saw a time, in the military era where there were fake coups and this and that and the other, and people were implicated just to eliminate them. And so there was a MMD Flanzameter incident in Monrovia in April of 1984, I believe it was April of 1985, maybe, and you know and something happened, and then next thing you know, all of the opposition leaders were being rounded up. Come to find out, it looked
Can I
fake.
just come in?
And so
Yeah,
what
no,
is
I want to go to Tarloh. Tarloh, what do you think? What is the impact of what transpired, since July 26th? What is the impact on future protests and demonstrations? What's going to happen to other demonstrations coming based on what we know now?
I sure do hope that, and the Constitution, like Kuni said, want us to protest. I hope nothing happened to those people who are planning future protests, because it is their right. It is the peoples who put the government in the power. So it's embedded in the Constitution that the people can assemble and protest. But let me go back, Dennis. You talk about you're not a medical person, the injury this fellow sustained, right? The very President George Weah, who directed Dr. Jala, the Minister of Health, to go and ensure that these students are given the best of care. When last you even saw the president even going to the hospital to stand next to those people or to their family or the minister? When was the last time the president even went to one of these hospitals and got his health taken care of? The fellow, particularly Christopher, from what I know, sustained a lot of major trauma as it relates to his head. If you look at the fellow mouth, his tooth, when you break somebody's tooth in his mouth, he begins to bleed. You put him at risk for so many fracture, facial fracture, head trauma, his brain. That guy will have traumatic brain injury for a very long time. What is the president is talking about? Right? Has he even gone to see these children's family? Have we heard anything? We do not even have, when you sustain that kind of head injury, your brain swell. There's water around the brain that helps the brain to move around, small. But when you stone somebody, there's the fluid get enough, and then it gets the brain in a state where if you don't give them what is called mannitol, an IV fluid, to pull that fluid out of the brain so the person can pee that out. We don't have that drug in the country. I was in the country as a chief nursing officer. We do not have it. Most of the pharmacists, they only sell malaria medicine. When a patient is involved in a motor vehicle accident and they go down to Redemption Hospital, where I used to be to inspect, I had to buy patients who needed mannitol, $26 for one small bag in Liberia. So what does the government have to do? JFK does not even have that. So for the president to be so deceptive and telling corrupt Dr. Jala, who is in his pocket, to ensure that this student or the student have the best of care, where is the care? So let us be honest with this here. I agree with Mr. Cooney that the police force, the justice minister, they spoke about it, but it is not enough. President Weah, under his administration, I will not go over that again. We have seen several violence where he didn't say anything. His wife, Clara Weah, said he's not prepared to lead. They may not prepare. She
Mr.
said
Cooney, same question, Mr. Cooney. I know you have something else to say, but what do you think going to happen to those 7 guys? They are perpetrators of the heinous act. And also, what is the future of demonstrations and protests in Monrovia?
Well, my hope is that a thorough investigation will be conducted.
What is your hope based on any history?
Huh?
What is your hope based on? Is it based on any history of the police under President Weah doing any thorough investigation and bringing perpetrators to justice?
Look, despite all of the statistics, the police solved the murder.
Let's talk about the statistics first. Don't say despite.
The police solved the murder of the Tonman's son. The perpetrator, faced justice, and the perpetrator is in jail, convicted in jail. But the point I'm making is that, when you're in law enforcement and you get and you get this kind of publicity, some of the things that happen is some people allow the publicity to take over. I hope that the police will conduct a professional investigation into these 7 persons, and those that they have evidence on, those people can be brought to justice. And if they don't have any evidence on anybody, they should not force that person into prosecution because of the public demand. I mean, we should be able to call for a free and fair investigation that reflect the evidence, that follow the evidence. So if the 7 persons that they arrested, or if there are more people to be arrested, my hope is that a professional investigation will be conducted and the police will follow the evidence. As it relates to future demonstration, the question that you asked, and this is what I said. Police have had challenges with logistics, with everything from time immemorial. There has been no administration that has sufficiently satisfied the logistical, the training needs of the Liberian National Police. I'm saying it as someone who has been in law enforcement from the time Tarloh was president. No administration has satisfied that requirement. The training needs of the police department, the logistical needs of the police department. Notwithstanding, you have to work with what you have. And I believe that the infrastructure is in place for the police to be able to know, when a demonstration is coming, for them to know the actors that are in the demonstration, for them to be able to conduct a threat assessment of that demonstration, and be able to deploy law enforcement resources in a way that maintain public peace. So for future demonstration, that's what I expect to see. I don't expect to see people beating people in another demonstration. I expect police presence in a way that will promote the constitutional rights of people demonstrating, while at the same time maintaining public peace, maintaining the order. That's what I hope to see. That's why I hope to govern future demonstration. We cannot cut off demonstration. Demonstration is the right of the people. But law enforcement will have to step up their game to make sure that the people are protected when they are demonstrating, either for or against. Because you can't prevent counter demonstration either. You cannot. But all of those things are within the law enforcement. You have the tools to make sure that at all times, no matter what happens, that people are protected, that law enforcement is available to maintain the peace, to maintain public order, while people are exercising their constitutional rights.
Thank you. The reason I ask is Mr. Mayor Koji is saying anytime they are demonstrating, we're going to be there.
Yes.
Now, August 24th, there's another demonstration plan, so we're going to have these things. Let's listen to Mr. Koji again. All right. So
quickly, let me talk about the Koji thing.
Let me go to
Dennis.
Let me go to Mr. Sharif.
Okay.
Mr. Sharif.
Just quickly, I just wanted to make one point before you go to Sharif. I keep using the word threat assessment.
It's the thing that, how can you have elections? People jump into the street and begin to attack our democracy. And you think we'll go and we'll sit as spectator? No. If no one will do that, the youth league on our watch will protect the democracy of this country.
If nobody will do that, the youth league, that is the one he has, will be able to do that. So under those circumstances, Mr. Sharif, what do we expect from future protests? But before you do that, Mr. Kunu, you had a point to make. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, look, sometimes in political discourse or in these things, you hear these bellicose languages. People speak like that. Again, this is why I keep for law enforcement need to conduct a threat assessment. This person, this group, this individual that is speaking, what threat do they pose? That's what we pay them for. And based on that threat, based on the analysis of that threat, then they develop a response. You will hear hot rhetoric all over the place. Somebody will say, oh, you go to that demonstration, Babu will devour cola. Okay. That's what they say. But law enforcement need to assess that to see what is the threat that this person is posing or this group is posing, and then we will fashion our response to make sure that we respond appropriately while at the same time ensuring the rights of the people to demonstrate. That's what I'm saying. Anybody can say anything, but we're talking about action here.
Thank you. Mr. Sherry, let's see. Nowadays, everybody is a militant, right? You see
Right.
students. There
Right.
was another group, PROSA, from the University of Liberia.
Right.
Then, we have Lofa University Student Association.
Right.
You got CPP, COP, CDC. You got Lofa. Everybody is, as Mr. Kuni said, using the bellicose language, right? So looking at all this, and these are all supposed to be young people, even though when we saw the ages, we was like, wait a minute, are these the young people that is 60 years old? But everybody is a militant now. So what do we see when it comes to future demonstration? Major Koji will continue to protect the democracy. Other people are not going to take things lying down. Where do we go from here? What do you see?
And Jefferson Kweji has been this chairman of the youth for what, about 10, 15 years now, and he's still a youth. He's still supposed to be a youth. I mean, look, so Jefferson Kweji, right? As Mrs. Kuonkwa said, this guy needs, George Weah needs to do him a favor and send him to school.
The man just graduated what?
Dennis.
The man just graduated magna cum laude.
Dennis, let's be serious. Let us be serious. Let's be serious. You said he graduated. Are you serious about being magna cum laude?
Yeah, I think it should be magna or summa cum laude from
what school was that?
University of Liberia.
I'm ashamed of my alma mater. I am ashamed that Luke's in Tenebris. That the Lukes and Tenebris that I know will crown Jefferson Kweji magna cum laude. I am so ashamed. And they should be, and the University of Liberia administration should be ashamed of themselves at this time for doing what they did. This is the reason why academic excellence has been degraded. Because, and I don't want to get off topic, but if I'll veer into this a little bit.
Yeah, don't get off topic. Let's come to the future of demonstrations in Liberia.
So the future of demonstration is at risk right now. You have a city mayor who calls himself an urban guerrilla fighter. You know what that means? So he calls himself the urban guerrilla. So he organizes these thugs to disrupt, right, peaceful protesters. So the future of protests will be violent now if nothing is done, because he has promised to counter protest. He has promised to put his thugs in the street. And look what they was, when they were being inducted into the CDC COP, they said we will give them what they're looking for. That was the song they sang. Why is this not discouraged? And Dennis, you hit the nail on the head. Everybody now is some kind of militant. Militant for what? What are you developing in this country? What is in this country that you are developing? What is it that you are fighting for? Manifest this. This is not manifested in the Liberia that we see now. But what people are being trained in the minds of young people is that, well, they must be militant. Militant to destroy one another. Militant to do the things that they did the other day on July 26th. The nation is 175 years old, and Liberia is now demonstrating to the world, locally and to the world, that yes, even though we are 175 years old, but we are a violent people. We are an intolerant people. So we have an administration in Monrovia that is very intolerant. And what you saw, Dennis, on July 26th is a manifestation of that intolerance. It's a manifestation of the violent past and our violent present. And this needs to be arrested and must be arrested now.
Ms. Kuonkwa, let's conclude on this. This whole concept of militancy. I mean, students now, what we see, they are singing. I don't know where this come from. Mr. Kuni, you've been an active or student leader, Mr. Sharir as well. This whole thing that everybody is speaking this bad English, everybody is screaming, and they are talking about militancy. Everybody is talking force. We don't see anything about academics. We don't hear any policy discussion. We don't hear any intellectual discourse. It's all about violence and throwing stones and militancy. Where does this come from? And I mean, when is it going to stop?
Are you asking me to come in, please?
Yeah, comment on that and anything else you want to say.
You know what, Dennis, the issue here is that I know that I did not go to school at the University of Liberia. This SOUP organization has been in place for a long time. They had a different women youth wing, whatever they've had. Even those that are in power today, a lot of them went to the university and they were part of that, camaraderie and so forth. But I think one of the reasons why the militant idea has been so much masterminded and taken to a different level by the CDC government, because these guys are very incompetent. And some of us didn't even know that. They're so incompetent and they see what is happening on the ground. They believe by using these students or these gentlemen, some of whom perhaps may not even be high school graduates, they keep suppressing them with the idea that giving them muya, 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 and singing, they were beating them, they will get it. They're giving it is an illusion because there are no jobs. There are no, you go into the classroom at a U of L, there's nothing. I was there, I took pictures, I went there before the ceiling, everything damaged, no, the laboratory. So the government is not funding the academic setting because they know when you put in the enabling environment for our students to learn, they will get to see the incompetency in George Weah government or any government that will come in that's not doing a job. So now they have decided to utilize intimidation through this militant. Look at Jefferson Koji just graduated. They're using the militant style, and these children, some of them were born during the war, they see this as a means. And so George Weah, when Koji then certificated CO or CDC COP, Weah did not even come up like he did to disassociate from that. He waited. How long has he been president? For 4.5 years. He's been in the presidency. He has said nothing. So the militancy has been taken to a different level under CDC, in my opinion, because they are very incompetent. They have some real strong, tough opposition coming into the race, like Tiawon Gonglo and other people. So they are afraid and they want to utilize brutality because they are the incumbent. So they can use that to brutalize the citizen during election time.
Oh, Mrs. Kongo, in all fairness, we see that militancy even from the opposition leaders. Everybody is sinking.
You're right, because CDC has taken it to a level where there is no security. Even the U.S., the embassy in the United States in Liberia said, under George Weah, there is total lawlessness. People are afraid. People are afraid. This government have never sat down to say, listen, we're going to ensure, because we came from a violent past, right? Anybody who do this will be given the fullest consequences to the law. They haven't done it. Instead, they are perpetuating through the militancy. Again, Mr. Jefferson Koji. Look at Mr. Koji speaking in that kind of terminology. And some of these boys, God knows what they have had to drink before they follow behind Jefferson Koji. Like Mr. Kuni said, police should know that protesters will be protesting and they should put in mechanism. So for 4.5 years, Joe, we have been in power, Kuni. You mean Joe had not put in no mechanism with the police on this thing yet?
Let me answer that question quickly.
Mr.
No, he hasn't done it.
But ask me a question, then let me answer now.
It's a rhetorical question. It doesn't mean
it's not direct.
I'm only saying this because I want to
answer the question.
George Weah and Kuni, they should not stop. They should stop making Liberian people look like they are gullible. They are not all gullible. Let us stop this and be serious. George Weah is not on the football field playing game. This is a country. This is not a university politics or high school. This is a nation. That nation has tremendous challenges that needs to be addressed on a daily basis. But it is not because George Weah is outsourcing his work to people around him who themselves don't even do the job right. And then in the end, they tell him that everything is okay. It's just granulosis.
Thank you. Mr. Kuni will take a short break. While we take the break, we're going to listen to the
I want 30 seconds.
Hold on, Mr. Kuni. We're going to listen to Honorable Yeka Kolubah. We're talking about the impact of what happened July 26th. Honorable Yeka Kolubah is forming what he called Opposition Protection Unit. And this unit, he said, will be trained in martial art for self-defense because President Weah is not able to provide security, or the government is not able to provide security for the nation. In fact, he told people to buy CCTV camera. But we want to also, so we're going to play that, but we want to remind all of you that Liberians, we are all one people regardless. So let's listen to these very good singers here.
God gave us this country. Our country, sweet country, Liberia. Our country, that God gave us this country. Liberia, that God gave us this country. We are going on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia. Liberia, God gave us this country.
That was the small town singers, Liberians. God gave us this country. And we are back, and we're going to be going to our comments and also phone calls. But before that, let's play this from Honorable Yeke Kolubah.
Endorse this group. So we should provide security for ourselves.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
I'm just told that the joint security is scrutinizing your statement that you're going to establish.
Scrutinizing is still in an open doing.
Are you not afraid?
Afraid of who? Arrest?
Yes.
What are they waiting for?
Honorable Kolubah, one day you might be a picker in the street.
Oh yes, I want to be bigger in the street for the Liberian people. Why they can't come now? You will not have police in the mouth to make fun. You saw the people in Lofa County, the more immigration, you know, police behind the police spokesman said he didn't see no people. All of my people you saw. Listen to the president. When the president said he don't know the CDC COP, all of that group you saw.
Do you think the Liberians are listening to what you say? Do you think are they following you?
Then we listen. We want to say to this president, you were elected to govern this country.
Yes.
You were not elected to be selective.
Yeah.
When you become selective, that will happen. You know how long it took the president to make one statement to say arrest? After the change was being put on last, it took him 6 days.
It's better late than never.
Mr. President, to hell with you.
You are always bitter with this president.
Because of the way
are you frank? Do you talk to him sometimes?
Are we being treated fairly in the country? No. The people are hungry in the country.
That is Honorable Yeke Kolubah, the representative of District Number 10, Moserado County, who has formed what he called the Opposition Protection Unit to defend. And he said he's going to form that group throughout the 15 counties of Liberia. Currently, he said he has 1,200 of those vets and berets to train his people. He's very defiant. He's also does not hold back or letting out stream of invectives on President Weah. What do we do with this guy, Mr. Sharif? First of all, let me ask a serious question. We were talking about the impact. Here is Mr. Kolubah say he's forming his group. I don't like to ask right or wrong questions or morality questions, but is he? We are not legal people, but is it his legal right to be forming this group and also insulting the president?
Yeah, I'm not a legal person, but what you see is the byproduct of inefficiency at the level of the presidency, right? So you have a presidency that has not delivered for the Liberian people. So what you're going to have is individual citizens coming up, concocting their own mechanism to protect themselves. So what you're seeing now is someone in Yeke Kolubah who is a vociferous opponent of the president. So he really seemed to be the only vocal opposition member around. I mean, who do you hear from now? I mean, you don't hear from the speaker. You don't hear with all the powers that these legislators have. They're sitting on their powers because they've all been bought by this president. They're all bought for money. They're all for sale. These people are. They're not doing their job. They're not doing what they're supposed to do for the Liberian people. And I hasten to say that these are, again, when people talk about, well, the indigenous Liberians and those who suppress us. Now you have your country. George Weah is your president. He's a so-called indigenous Liberian. You have the legislature dominated by the so-called indigenous. I hate to put things in those terms, but I have to, because is this what you were fighting for all along? So I guess I'll ask Mr. Coney now, all the progressive fights and stuff like that, is this what you wanted now? In the end, are you satisfied now that this indigenous president, this indigenous leadership is suppressing the very indigenous people? So yeah, so what you see from Yeke Kolubah is really gasoline. So George Weah is giving him the gasoline to lit the fire. So if George Weah was providing us with the efficient leadership that is necessary, Yeke Kolubah will be very irrelevant. Reason why he's relevant, reason why he's even in our discourse is because George Weah let that happen. And so that's what you're seeing. And now, Dennis, I gotta tell you, you may see many Yeke Kolubahs, and that's a dangerous thing to do in going into the 2023 elections.
Thank you. Let me bring Mr. Arthur Doe, who has been waiting on the call even before we open the phone lines. Mr. Arthur Doe, you are live. Make your point quickly so that the rest of the panelists can chime in on this new issue. Mr. Doe, you are live.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ja, and thank you to your panelists for this very, very, very focus on Liberia. Absolutely, it is focused on Liberia.
Thank you.
But I think we should be fair enough here to call spade a spade. The fact that during pre and during the July 26 and post the July 26 brutality, I think the government should have been on it. On it, I mean, out of the things that has to do, because the government is no stranger to any protest, because the largest protest that was held on June 7th, so we know. So the government should know what when the students say when the protest is. And the good thing is the students did not go on the university campus, but right in front of the American embassy. They were protesting, thinking peacefully. I think that the brutality that went on, it was a coordinated effort, and I'll put it squarely on George Weah. I'll put it on the president for the fact that these students said it, and they went to the Capitol building. I know very well that there are people who following these students, the Student Division Party or Stouts. And I know very well that there are people that were following, and Mr. Weah, President Weah knew about it. The security apparatus knew about it. Even the mayor of the city of Montreal knew about the entire thing. So when you did not see police there, because of the coordinated effort from me, I think they thought that CDC or COP would have been the preferable group to dismantle the crowd. I must tell you, this thing, we should not leave it alone. It is not partisan business. It is not annoying business. Let's put it squarely. You cannot blame no police. You have to put it squarely on the president's feet. And what especially to take almost 6 days for you to respond, that made my hair so sore. I just don't want to continue to see this thing and talk about it, but I thought it was expedient tonight to really talk about it tonight. And to tell my dear eminent or the super analyst of FOL to say there was a logistic problem, I will stop that far. Thank you so much for allowing me.
Thank you. We have so many callers, so let's go around and talk about Yeke Kolubah quickly. Mr. Kuni, we're talking about the impact. One of the impact is we have Honorable Yeke Kolubah forming his own group here, and it looked like this is the new trend. Who knows what may happen when his group meet the security forces or the law enforcement officers? Where we go from here, sir?
Well, despite the extra effort by some element of the opposition to portray Liberia as totally lawless, a chaotic society where there is no law and order.
Mr. Kunu, you see people forming their own defense force, and then you say it's not chaotic?
Dennis, give me a chance, let me learn.
Okay.
I heard a statement, I heard a man.
Okay.
I said, despite the fact that people want to make the country chaotic, they want to make it appear lawless, especially the opposition, there are still laws in Liberia. Our country is still a country of laws. We have our system of governance in place. Every individual has the right to take their own personal security into account, but you have to do it lawfully. You have to do it legally. There are procedures for the organization of security organizations in our country. There are procedures in place for the organization of protective forces in our country. So as long as Mr. whatever Kolubah is doing, if it meets the law of the land, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. There is abundance of private security in Liberia. Different organizations that provide private security. If Yeke Kolubah feels that he can do that, and he can do that lawfully, and he can do that legally, I don't have a problem with that. But if there are people who say that, if there are people who want to reinforce the stereotype of our country being a failed society because George Weah is president, because they are not, and they want to encourage all these chaotic movements, then we have to reflect on what kind of Liberia we want. Again, all of these incidents that we refer to here, they're not. Sometimes we say, not because it happened before, so it must continue. No one says that. But you have to reference, your country must have a point of reference. People will have to appreciate where we're coming from. So then when you talk about, CDC demonstrated. CDC demonstrated, but there were many CDC partisans that were thrown in jail for demonstration. They don't talk about that. They want to talk about the CDC demonstration. They don't talk about the many CDC partisans that were thrown in jail simply because they were demonstrating during the previous regime. So Yeke Kolubah is one of the most vile members of the society. He insults the presidency and the opposition clap. I mean, it sometimes makes me the one of this opposition who feel that George Weah has failed so much. Why do they fall for very stupid things? You know, this man is a member of Congress. He's a member of the national legislature. He has power of oversight. He has power of lawmaking. He has power of representation. He abandons all of that, and he engaged in real thuggish behavior in the place. And, you find opposition, they cheering on. It's good.
Thank you.
Everybody with him. And then on top of all of that, you say the president is not accommodating. If the president can accommodate all the personal insult from Yeke, what else the president need to accommodate to prove that George Weah is really a peace-loving person?
But does the president have a choice to accommodate or not to accommodate these insults?
Huh?
Does the president have a choice? Can he do something legally to stop these insults? Does he have a choice to accommodate or not accommodate insults from Yeke?
You say the president has a choice?
Does he have
individual has a choice? Every individual has a choice.
What can he do?
Us on the platform, we have a choice.
What can he do about that?
Well, he's promoting Liberian democracy, but even at that, the failed opposition don't see that. People who run newsroom that quick to black people because you disagree with them, They see a president that tolerates all of that insult. They still say he's not accommodating. He's not peaceful. He's not this. He's not that. Let's just monitor the structure of the state. If we want to blame the president, so who can blame the president? You talk about the police. The opposition control the legislature. What have they done to uplift the police? They're there. You said they enjoy their pocket. The judiciary enjoy.
Okay, Mrs. Kwangba, let's come to Yeke Kolubah. In all fairness, Honorable Yeke Kolubah is a former child soldier. Okay, he admits that he fought for, I think it's a model. That's the movement, some funny name they give themselves, but there's a rebel group that he fought. So Yeke Kolubah forming a defense force, isn't that scary?
Well, look, law enforcement says that again.
I said, hold on, let Mrs. Tarloh respond to Yeke Kolubah's.
Don't make me respond to that main crew. I'm going to say Natina. The question for me.
Yeah.
So, here's the thing again. And I think Mr. Sheriff said it here. Mr. Kuni can go and say all this thing here. Trust me. Yeke Kolubah, why it is true he has been marginalized, the thing I don't like about Yeke Kolubah is the insults that he always calls the president. In as much as Weah is so incompetent, he is the president. He should not be abused like that. It shouldn't be, particularly from an honorable. But you see, I think Yeke himself has got something about maybe traumatized because he was a child soldier. And Weah and all these people are just marginalizing him. So if President Weah was doing the right thing, it would not have influenced, in my opinion, Yeke to form his own militant. The only thing I ask of Yeke is let him behave in an honorable way and use languages or words that would not include profanity, because he's an honorable man. As an honorable man, articulate the issue and stop cursing him, because we need solutions to the problem. Now, let me go back to Mr. Kuni here, because I know Kuni now will be on here tonight. I'm so happy he's on this program, because Kuni has been attacking me on Facebook for speaking about some of these things in my post, because they expect all of us who are crew with me and who I support the CDC government. And I will say it again, I'm not an official member of CDC. I was a sympathizer. I supported them. I resigned my job here. I'm not bragging. I made over $100,000. I put that job aside. I went. I was making $46,000 on the Weah government. I appreciate it. It was not even coming. So he shouldn't be seeing here that, the Ellen government. If Kuni knew that CDC members were put to jail illegally and their rights were violated under the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration, why didn't George Weah then audit her and ensure the same injustices they were subjected to was not being subjected to other opposition in his government? You should stop that. I really believe that, Yeke and those who form in that militancy and so forth, it got to stop. Because we are not a separate nation within a nation. That's why we have the police force. That's why we have the army. And the army power and the police, then they are weak. They're very weak. The judicial system, the military, they all in Weah pocket. When Weah ready, he send another person weapon. No, let us be serious. They are very weak. They are weak. There are some there who are very strong, but they are afraid. If George Weah has taken the governance, the nation's security force, and prioritized his priority, Yeke Kolubah will not be forming militancy, because right now it's like everybody on their own. So why do you have a president in place? Right. So should we say now there should be an interim government to stop this kind of a formation of militants all over the country? I was in Liberia. If you call for police, you can't get them. The U.S. mission, the embassy itself said it and said Liberia currently right now, there's total lawlessness. And that is why Tiawan Gonglo, who understands the law, is running, because George Weah is taking us way backwards, that even under Ellen was trying to even restore some peace. a better Liberia is possible under Congongo because he understands the law and he will ensure that the judiciary or the executive does not interfere with the police function. And as for Yeka Kolubah, he has his constituency. Those young boys are behind him, like, my brother said, Kuni said, you have the right to go and get professional security, pay them. They do it here in America. But the notion Kuni is not seeing, telling us they can do it because they require the Constitution. So where is the police that the nation is depending on for their security? You're giving us two different conflicting information, Kuni. Yeka should not be hiring. And let me tell you guys something. We're having dug deeper. As they form this militancy, do we know if they have arms somewhere? Do you know that? We don't know. So I would want to appeal on this discussion that Yeka Kolubah and those that have that militancy, it shouldn't be the way of a democratic nation and giving our past history. And that's why President Weah should equip the police. He should prioritize the people's safety, and he has failed miserably. That is why in 2023 they should vote President George Manuel Weah out of office.
Thank you. Let me go to our phone lines now. We got
let me clarify my statement.
Hold on, Mr. Kuni. Let me get Evans Morris on the line. We got our people are paying when they are staying on the line, so let's get them off. Mr. Morris, go ahead. You're live.
Thank you, Mr. Ja. Quickly, I just want to say to Ms. Kwankwa, we appreciate her. We respect her on this platform. I respect her and I appreciate her. But I just want to ask one question to her, then I'll make my comments and get on one. I just want to know what disillusioned her from the CDC government. She said she was a sympathizer previously, having worked there and seeing the condition on the ground. What caused her to leave? I think she did a show that I watched, but hopefully she can answer that question. Let me just get to my comments. Man like Yeka Kolubah, when he thinks that he can talk and he's strong, man, because he fought war before, we ain't got to go tell anybody to fight for him, but there are people who are willing to die for him. He ain't got to even tell him. So if Yeka Kolubah think you're an ex-rebel man, and he would just talk nonsense and nobody will retaliate, I can guarantee him there are people there who are willing to die for George Weah. So he will be strong resistant. If he come up with this nonsense that he's going to form his own force and think that he's just going to go by scot-free and nobody's going to challenge him, he got another thing coming to him. And as far as this whole thing with George Weah's speech, I mean, as a president, you delegate certain responsibility in terms of law enforcement. You leave it to the defense, the Ministry of Justice. You got to get all the facts first before you can really make a statement. To have a cohesive statement, to know all the things that went on in the investigation. So we can't blame him for taking a few days to collect all the facts.
But he's mandating the police to do their job. Isn't that interference?
Mr. John, we just said the president is going to be the third who are going to court and sit on there and have the judge.
No, he's telling the police. Isn't that interference? What if it was the other way around? What if he told the police not to arrest? Then they won't arrest?
Well, he's pretty much telling the police to do their job. No. Whoever did this crime needs to be arrested. He's giving them an order. Regardless of what people think, he's actually the first law enforcement officer in the land. So the justice minister failed on this issue. He should have been the one in front of it, and the police director failed. The president don't get the first blame.
So we expect him to fire them.
He's not doing investigations.
We expect him to fire them.
Is that really a fireable offense? Let's be honest. It's not a fireable offense.
Okay.
He can suspend them. He can discipline them, but it's not something that rises up to the level to fire them. These things have happened before in Liberia. When Ellen Johnson, when Allison died, when Harry Greaves died, what they did to them? They fired the police. Any action was taken. Those people's cases are not even solved today. Let's talk to and talk so. I won't stay too long in line, but thank you for taking my call, Mr. John.
Thank you. Let's go to Ben Jonah. Ben, you're live. Go ahead, sir. Ben Jonah, you're live.
Hey, thank you. Let me walk out of where I am. It's a lot of noise there. Yeah, thanks for having me. So, I was not here at the beginning of the show, so I might not have seen all of the videos that you played. But I saw the video that you played that was expressing the violent behavior of Jefferson coaching, which of course I have denounced a long time ago. But I don't know if you have played a video where the troop leader was also denouncing violence. I mean, he was proclaiming violence at the same time talking about bloodshed. You know, this whole idea about medicine thing, it worries me. And sometimes I'm so confused to say, these guys are in the university. Do they really understand the word militant? I mean, like, how would someone name himself as a militant? Like, do they really understand it? Look, all of these people are wrong. But the problem about Liberians here is this. But it's on the other side, people will criticize it. But when it comes on the other side, people will turn a blind eye and be faced as if nothing is happening. Today, rebel leader Jacob Kolubah is behaving as if he is another authority. And everybody in the opposition is not saying a word. When will these people speak? When the government does wrong, we talk about it. When people in the opposition do the same thing, and everybody goes silent. And that is our problem. Until we can correct that, I can see the recurrence of another civil war in our country because Liberians are being selfish and being mean to themselves. I will stop there for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take one more caller and then we go to Mohamed. That's Darling Warwood. Darling, you live.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me. So you see, what is unfolding in the country is a very serious situation that people think is some kind of joke. With people falling medicines, personal bodyguards. This is the byproduct of, like the brother Sherry just said, incompetent leadership of the John Weah administration. So let me say this. John Weah didn't have to be president because John Weah doesn't know what it means to be president. He has no clue. He's clueless. The only thing he knows and can do best is to party and just have fun. And that's exactly what he's doing. He doesn't even know what is unfolding in the country. John Weah doesn't know what is going on in Liberia. There are individuals who all by themselves could not win the presidency, but decided to ride on George Weah's popularity to the executive mansion. This is what we are having as a result of evil people, unpatriotic people, who will do anything to get to the executive mansion, who will do anything to lay hands on our economy. So what is the 40? I feel sorry for George Weah because people got him to where he is. He doesn't know what is going on. John Weah is not a leader. There's a man who squandered his own money. He went broke. How can you elect a man who squandered his own money and went broke, gave you an economy and think he's going to take care of it? Right now, Liberia is lawless. There is no security. We don't have water, no electricity, no job, no nothing. This brother and his friends and Maya Shaw and Samuel Shaw, they are running this country into the ground. So maybe here's what I would suggest. The Liberian people can come together and settle George Weah and his people so that they can leave. And then we can bring people who will steer the affairs of this country. Thank you very much for having me tonight.
Thank you, darling. Mr. Sharif, your response to the many callers. Let's start with you.
Yes, so Darling will re-echo some of the things that we've said all along, George Weah and incompetent leadership. The last caller before Darling Will, though, is critical of Yeka Kolubah. I mean, he has a right to do so, but what I continue to maintain is, Yeka Kolubah and the likes of Yeka Kolubah is the byproduct of incompetent leadership. If there was a consistent effort by this administration to ensure that the rights of every individual Liberians was protected, you disincentivize groups like those of Yeka Kolubah. But now what you're going to have is there will be copycats now. You mentioned, all of the militant groups, all of these students, they all have the same, battle cry. These are copycats now, and Yeka Kolubah is coming up with a different version of militancy. This is different from the student groupings now, because what you have with Yeka Kolubah is a level of training. He did say that they're going to be trained in the art of defending themselves. He did not go as far as to say that any sort of arms and ammunition will be involved, but he kind of went around those sensitive issues. But the bottom line is, when you begin to see this, This is further deterioration of the Liberian nation state. Where is the president? Where is the leadership? Where is the legislature? Where is anybody? So there is a deficit of leadership, Dennis. Liberia is 175 years old, and it's as if, you know, there's no leader. It's leaderless. George Weah is a great athlete, but he's not a leader. I'm sorry, he's not a leader. He's not a president. And for those who invested their time and resources in letting ensuring that George Weah is elected, I think are having a buyer's remorse. And so in 2023, as I think Darlene Wood said that, the task for the Liberian people is to ensure that they undo the mistakes that was made in the last election by voting him out. And I think justice will be done to George Weah if he's voted out. You know, this is the right thing to do, because, I mean, it's as if this thing is, the leadership is too big for him.
Thank you. Let me take our last caller here. That's Ibrahim Kone. You're live. Go ahead, sir. Caller on the line 609. Iroko, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. I mean, good evening.
Hello.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Go ahead. Thank you for calling.
Glad to hear that. Yeah, I was glad to hear that. You know, it kind of behooves all Liberians to always unconditionally condemn violence or not to equivocate. But the comparison, attributing every violent behavior in Liberia to the war incompetence, because the war incompetence has just been used cavalier with it right now. It's like that's the only diction that people use around, especially people that feel so quote unquote educated. But the behavior of the likes of Kolubah or anybody that will exhibit violence in our society should be unconditionally condemned, and not to make comparison whether you have a weak legislator or you got a weak president. There is nothing that has to do with the question of weak presidency in our place. But people look down upon this president with disdain. Brother Sharif here has listened to me on this podium many a time. There is no sentence that you will use on this podium for equating incompetence. Everything has to do with incompetence. It's time. Liberians like you make a decision. If you think that this president is unacceptable to you, remove it democratically. But to look down upon the people, I'm an educated man too. And I decided to support George Weah. I have no bias remorse. So don't speak for people that made a decision to support this president. It is your right to speak. Now, the question about people that have been victimized in Liberia, I'm a victim of this kind of violent situation in Liberia historically. So we should unconditionally condemn the behavior.
Right.
All right? So,
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. But should we also condemn the violence of July 26th and those behind it?
Of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you.
Let me lay on that. I was part of the University of Liberia. I was there when violence was exhibited. Post-war was post-war. I understand it, but I understand the situation. I'm in support of no violence. I condemn the July 26th situation. But equally,
thank you.
Because they got a power where they say if you leave the leg on the hair and fly the hair will lose it. So they need to go to the root cause of the perpetrator and the instigator. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Kwangba, your response.
Well, I don't want to keep repeating the same thing, you know. The caller seems to, the first caller had a very good question that he specifically directed to me, and I will paraphrase what he said because he was breaking in. But I guess he probably, the question like, I supported George Weah government.
Yeah, and what this he said, what this illusion you from the CDC?
Yes, that was the word he used, and I didn't get it. The
Yeah.
disillusion on my part has to do with the failure, the incompetency of people they kept bringing in the government, failure to, I'm speaking from also the healthcare sector and what I saw for the past 3 years. I mean, President Weah is coming, the traffic is jammed, you finish working a whole day, then the next thing, they're pushing you on the side. The traffic, you won't take pay, right? You talk to people, you say, I'm doing salary harmonization. You have the document with you. You look at your staff pay. TUA is telling you the harmonized. When you see the deduction, lies, the corruption. In addition, just the fact that the president over the past 4 years, and before I say this again, I keep saying this thing here, this is the president, y'all can't see it. The first lady, 2005, the perspective, November 5th, in an interview she had with the Washington, the New York Times. I quoted her, "My husband is really not prepared for the task." She said this, and we see how President Weah. For me personally, I try and make all effort to go home to help as a healthcare person. I was denied, I was rejected. So then when I learned George Weah was coming, giving his peace initiative, left Europe to come to Liberia in a refugee. He did some real good things. But when I was on the ground, what I saw, George Weah government, people he got in the government is stealing. They're not willing to listen to constructive, objective criticism. And then you see funds that given to healthcare sectors, right? It is diverted, and George Weah go and visit other clinics. He doesn't go and see what the ICU look like, does not even talk. Then they come out, they just said deceptive. And so I became a little bit, this is not right. We cannot keep giving misleading information. There was one time the president was going to, I think his inauguration, the healthcare sector was going to present its own narrative as to what we've done for that whole year. Narrative they had in there, they needed me to sign some, it was off balance. And then because I stated some real, clear, I said, I would like to see documents, I support this, because I knew it was not accurate. So I became disillusioned because they were not being truthful to the people. The deception was just too much. So I had no choice because I have moral convictions, I have principle and values, and I have integrity. And if I see that the leader who came to power to bring some change and those he got around him and himself are not exemplifying that, I didn't want to be part of that system, and that's why I left. That's why I left it there. I retired. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Kuni.
Dennis.
Hold on, let me read a few comments here. Sam Odu, there are people and Leo people, children who want to die for George Weah according to the color, but Weah is not willing to die for anybody. Very sad. Zion said, tell Weah to abolish the Sabu unit. Crisco Masale, when Thomas Fowler was training men in Lufa County, what did you guys say? George said, if it is a political culture in Liberia for the legislature and judiciary to be in the pockets of the Liberian president. That's why you see opposition members joining the ruling party, and those who don't want to join the president prefer to be mute while getting their brown envelopes. Sam said Mr. Kuni should start playing a political game with the people here. Evie was complaining I was keeping him on the line for hours. That's not true. He just stayed there 8 minutes and he's crying because he doesn't want to pay 1 cent per minute. Henrietta Morgan, you are living in America with a government that provides you security 24/7, and your president is telling his people to protect themselves, and you are now speaking against those that are trying to protect themselves. I think she's talking about Mr. Kuni. Sam Wallace said that's exactly the point, Connie. Folks don't learn. Keep doing the same thing president after president. Then say there are no jobs and poor economy. Last comment here. Flomo Livingstone, the president was wrong for making a threatening remark saying if any citizen insult him, they will not walk in the streets of Monrovia. And now Yeka is defying that and keep insulting the president. Sam Wallace said it took 175 years to bring Liberia to this low point. It will take several generations of consistently applied positive behavioral and cultural change to get it back on track. Mr. Cooney, you listened to the callers and you heard some comments. Briefly, give us your take, and then we can go to our Tabata session. You are muted, Mr. Cooney.
One of the callers captured the point I wanted to make, because one of the terms that is being thrown around very loosely here most of the time is incompetence, is this, is that. You know, that is the attack of the intelligentsia. They always want to diminish other people who is not of their kind. They want to diminish your education. They want to diminish your accomplishment. And so everything about George Weah, what they see is incompetence. But I want to tell you tonight, Dennis, I would prefer an incompetent president like George Weah, who is upgrading the country road infrastructure. I would prefer an incompetent president like George Weah, who is building housing, low-cost housing throughout the country. Local housing that has been the exclusive domain of Monrovia is now with the rural population. I would want that kind of incompetent president. I want an incompetent president who is, and don't roll your eyes on me and web your head. You seeing everybody making a case why George Weah should not be re-elected. I'm making my case why the Liberian people will elect George Weah in the first round. I'm looking for an incompetent president that is training more and more medical professionals in our country. I'm looking for an incompetent president that is building more hospitals in the country. When we're building the 14th military hospital, the intelligence say it was useless. That hospital has contributed to the healthcare delivery system of Liberia. I'm looking for an incompetent president that is expanding educational rights. You talk about the University of Liberia, there is no administration that has made more investment into that university than President Weah. Not only has he contributed more to it financially, but the revamping, the rehabilitation of the university. I'm looking for an incompetent president, Dennis.
Not true.
Who has expanded the university in Liberia. First time in his history.
Dennis,
hold on, Tarloh.
This guy is not being accurate.
I'm looking for an incompetent president that has expanded electricity to the Liberian people. I'm looking for an incompetent president that you will say is not.
Mr. Cooney, we get a drift.
Mr. Cooney.
No, you don't get a grip. You don't get a grip.
Mr. Cooney.
Hold on, Tarloh.
So I'm defining my incompetence.
Right.
When
I get it.
Your incompetence is substandard.
Liberia,
it's
substandard. They don't have a point of reference. They talk about Liberia in a way that they think Liberia was Sweden until George Weah took it over. All of the incompetent people were in Liberia. We didn't have no electricity in the rural area.
Thank you.
We didn't have no local housing in the rural area. We didn't have tuition fees.
Hold on, Tarloh. We got 14
have
minutes
public
to close.
education.
I want
We
to
didn't have all of those things. So this is why we have consistently said that George Weah will be elected on the first round in the election. This organization, for my sister to sit down here, if the fact that George Weah's wife granted an interview that George Weah was not willing to be president, if that is the silver of the Gonglo team, then I feel sorry for that team. Because
thank you, Mr. Cooney.
Let me tell you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooney.
No, you're not going to filibuster me, Dennis. When I decided to be president of ULA, sometimes people close to you, they will say, "Oh, you think you really want to do that?" So if the fact that Claire Weah said George Weah were not ready, if that is what in their two bags to promote the candidacy of Tiawan Gonglo, then I feel very sorry for that team.
Look, Mr. Cooney, let me tell you something.
Mrs. Kolubah, please, 30 seconds. We have to go.
Mr. Cooney, let me tell you something. Tiawan Se Gonglo is a very professional, integrity guy, and he's an
corrupt government.
Listen, Your political rhetoric, you trying to kind of establish it will not hold because everybody doesn't see the team. Tiawan is not telling me about Tiawan has not said anything about Mrs. Clara Weah. I'm just saying as his wife, she said this. I didn't even see it. But let's be clear. You mentioned incompetent Joe Weah. I don't expect you to accept the fact that Joe Weah has a lack of knowledge in governance. You will not say it because you are enjoying whatever he's giving you, and you put Joe Weah and your political party first, and the country is draining under his administration.
You benefited $46,000 for the country. You benefited $46,000 for your
country. Tina Wuru say Wuru. Let me speak. You should mute him. The issue
go ahead.
Is
your 30 seconds almost over. We gotta
okay,
go.
2 more minutes. The issue here is that let me provide some clarity. Yes, the president is building infrastructure and stuff. I was also at that military hospital. I know what the inside at the time looked like. The roads he's building, they are substandard. The hospitals are substandard.
Why they were not built before?
And the electricity.
Why they were not built before?
The electricity.
The woman paid $46,000 from the government and you say I eat money.
The substandardized structure. The tiny homes that do not have no way for the nurses to
you pay your living for that government. I've never
Mr. Cooney.
You pay your living. You pay a living for the government.
All right, let's take our last point, Mrs. Kwangba. That's okay. Let's go to the last point.
The development he's currently effecting in Liberia is very substantial, and because
you pay your living for the government, don't accuse the government.
All right, for the last point, because we have to go to our Tabata session. So I want each of you to use just 1 minute, because we have to touch on Unity Party. So Unity Party, and this is just 30 seconds for each of you. Unity Party elected. They threw out their chairperson, Ami Modal, the secretary Mo Ali, and they have elected as chairman Reverend Luther Tapper and as secretary Amos Tue. They are now in charge. Mr. Cooney, for 30 seconds. Judge Weah government is often being accused as Southeastern government. Now we have a Southeastern
duplicity of the people. That's the duplicity of the people, and this is why I will never stoop low to them. That for me to enjoy my Southeastern heritage, I should needlessly criticize Georgia. I will never do that. I feel confident in my Southeastern heritage. I support this president. He's a very good president. He's a peaceful president. He's developing the country, and he will win in the first round. Let the people do what the people can do with us Southeast. Let them do what they want to do.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif. I know it's a democracy, but at this time, the Unity Party has been through a lot from the disintegration of the CPP, throwing out your chairman and also the secretary, who were the face or the faces of the Unity Party during this very turbulent time at this time. And the reason they were being accused, all those were political talk, say, well, they are in the pocket of the CDC. What is the implication on the future of the Unity Party as we go to 2023?
Well, yeah, first, before I get there, Mrs. Kwangba, I want to thank you for your service to Liberia. All you've heard from Wilmot Cooney is just partisan talk. And I, as a patriotic Liberian, I want to thank you for your service, for leading the message to go back home, to serve the country. And these government thieves will not let you serve your country. Shame on them. So Dennis, to your question. So what this does now is that, it's democracy. I don't really have a problem with them throwing out their chairman and the secretary general. Such is democracy. What I don't like, though, is that even though after the election and the newly elected chairman is still lambasting Amin Modal, he's still going on shows, talking about how he was distanced from Joseph Boakai, things that happened. He, as the new chairman now, is supposed to be a uniter. That, I think, is more of a problem. He's not been a uniter already, so he's not uniting his party. That, I think, is a problem. And I think that what you see to have a representation in the Southeast, I actually like that. This shows that this party if they continue to do that, although I still have a problem with the standard bearer, but you broaden your base, broaden your base, all sections of the country. I think it's a good thing. It is a good thing.
Thank you. Mrs. Kwongba, we don't know, talking about the Unity Party being through, the standard bearer was elected on white ballot. His people that work with him were thrown out. We don't know who he voted for, and that's his right. But do you see any backlash as to people, or is there any bad blood you think going to be as a result of the chairman and the secretary losing their job while the president or the standard bearer is on white ballot? Do you think they're going to, again, go into African politics or politics in Liberia? Do you think this show that there was some backstabbing?
Dennis, it's obvious. A lot of backstabbing went on. And, Ambassador Wakai, as a standard bearer, some of these decisions should have been handled earlier and put into place. So it's very sad that political leaders who have been in power for a long time, when these things happen, they don't swiftly come and address it head on so it doesn't affect the party like we've seen with the Union Party. But the one thing I would like to say, Model, I didn't know him too well. I haven't been following him. But the fact that Mo Ali is not there is a good thing. This is the Mo Ali who I think has some kind of issue with some girl being impregnated by him. Those people should not be in leadership. At what point our women will not be abused? At what point? We come to school, we learn. You find women being abused for maybe less than whatever. And then you find those people who are abusing these women, who's sleeping with them, and they got their wives. They are in close proximity to leadership. I mean, then you want to put more for other people and say corruption and this and that. So I'm glad Mo Ali is gone. He should have been gone ever since. In the meantime,
thank you.
I understand Ambassador Wakai, that backstabbing and stuff. They gotta have to fix themselves. Me and Unity Party, I have friends who are part of Unity Party, and we discuss the issue. But let's look and see. I don't know how to predict the future for this UP, but it is my hope that there be a strong opposition to knock Weah out of office, and we're gonna do it because the substandard, no light, intermittent current, bad roads, no medication in the hospital. Nurses can get paid. That substandard housing he building when he lived in Europe. He built mansion. He built 47 condominium. Then he go build Babati houses. That the one would depend on. Weah will be voted out of office come 2023.
Thank you. We now go to our Tabata session because every time there's Tabata happening somewhere in Liberia, Tabata is a southeastern world mean complete nonsense. Before that, we're going to listen to Small Town again saying, Liberia, this is the country that God gave us. We are one people. While we play that song, prepare for the Tabata of the week.
Our country, sweet Mandela, our country, that God gave us this country. That God gave us this country. We are calling on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia, God gave us this country. Our country, sweet Mandela, our country, that God gave us this country. That God gave us this country. We are calling on everyone here to come and pray for this country, Liberia, God gave us this country.
As an amen. Tomorrow we're going to have the literary hour with Dr. K. Moses Nawe and the scholar Jackie Sayer. Also, on Saturday, we're going to have on the Liberian History channel the extraordinary life and death of Edwin James Raw. You don't want to miss that. Then on Saturday at 3 p.m., we're going to be looking at the dual citizenship law. We have some legal minds here. We're going to look at the dual citizenship law and the associated rights and benefits. What are some of the challenges and the problem areas when it comes to the dual citizenship law and the implications and what are the next steps? Now that we have dual citizenship, what next? That show will be hosted by the person now who has been known as the well-rounded Dennis Jar. You don't want to miss it. Now we come to our Tabata of the week. Mr. Sharif, I know you saw some Tabata going on.
Yeah, so George Weah's police force is incompetent. I know the CDC, the seditionists don't want to hear this, but they are incompetent. They had to wait for their leader to say, do something about the violence, and now they're telling us 7 people were arrested. You know, that should have been done from the beginning, from day one. So the fact that they didn't do anything then, that's the biggest Tabata of the week.
Mr. Kuning.
My Tabata of the week, Dennis. You know, there are a lot of Tabata going on around here. Look, the prediction of future behavior is current behavior. Alexander Cummings, his popular quote. This is the man that's supposed to bring transparency to our system, according to him. He's supposed to bring all these fight corruption. Benedict Cummings is now calling a man who is in the U.S. but has been caught in the U.S. dragnet for fraud. The PLP leader calling him for political collaboration. Is this the way we will really carry transparency in our country? To parley with people who are criminally indicted? You know, we say these things. This is a big Tabata, Dennis. This may get no public sector record. But the decision he's making with political alliances is troubling. Bringing the man who the U.S. government is investigating for fraud. You say the man can't join you in political collaboration to rule our country. Joey, one really blinking for truth.
Thank you. And next week we're going to have the ANC people right here to discuss this issue. You see, tonight we didn't even touch it because they're coming. Darling, what we'll say, my Tabata of the week is the National Port Authority borrowing $8 million from clients to dredge the free port. Mrs. Kwongba, I know you are preparing your Tabata. Sam Wallow say, my Tabata is that people somehow tend to see Liberia's failure has started 5 years ago, instead of recognizing the long-standing 175-year history of unethical, inconsistent behavior that have brought the country to this point.
Thank you.
Henrietta Morgan, my Tabata is when will Kuning go back home to enjoy good governance so others can be encouraged to go back?
I was there this year.
Mrs. Kwongba, what's your Tabata of the week?
My Tabata or Ururan, my Tabata of the week is for President George Weah to give the address to the nation following 7 days of the brutality inflicted upon the students by the CDC, COP militants, and Weah says, no COP within CDC government, when in fact, Jefferson Koji certificated those individuals. That is the biggest Tabata. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, our audience here have some Tabata. This one is coming from Alexander Boniface Hayes. He said my Tabata of the hours is Mr. Kuning being a blind loyalist. That's the Tabata of the, that's his Tabata. Arthur Wiado, my Tabata of the week is Yege Kolubah and Koji nonsense. My Tabata of the week is this whole militant behavior. So after soup, we saw the militancy on both sides, everybody acting like macho people. I saw that. Then came Prosa, another group at LU, the militancy. Before they even start any little, like, so they're going to sing for the 20 minutes, all the songs and all those things that some of all that traumatized us during the war. I got my war face. You know that woman take with that man, and we see these same songs, and on all sides. Now we come to Lofa University. They came with the same tabata. To me, this whole idea of the militancy among the young people, including students, political parties, is complete tabata, and it needs to stop. Evis, where's your tabata? You say, Mr. Jah, read my tabata. Sam Odu Matabata is those youth who committed a criminal act against Christopher would serve as a deterrent to all of us. Those guys, some of them are 36 years old. They are now youth. Moses Vakmana said Matabata is cooning tribalistic behavior. Mr. Sherry, you are laughing when they are on Mr. Kuni.
Yeah, he himself laughing. Looks like he like it.
Abby, we want Tabata here. He said, don't forget to watch Abby Tyler's Healthy Living every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Abby is also live here on Focus on Liberia every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Go and watch Abby Tyler Healthy Living. So what's your Tabata, Abby? We're looking for that. Evers said Matabata is the president complaining about his official being late at the 26th Independence Day program. You know, that's something about Mr. President. Sometimes if he has anything to tell his minister, he won't say it, but he will go to the church and start preaching instead of telling them. That again, we don't want to go to a third Tabata. This person said, my Tabata is how can a former vice president who spent 42 years in government and didn't do anything for the country wanting to become president? That you go then is the Tabata. Well, I want to thank you all for coming and taking up your time. Continue to watch us focus on Liberia, where we educate, we elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Let me hear from Mr. Sharif. Your closing comments, sir.
Yeah, so I really want to double down on the caller. I believe his name was Ibrahim Kone or something, who really, I mean, was very angry about, his defense of George Weah. I want to double down. I want to say not only that George Weah is incompetent, he does not have the intellectual curiosity of a man who's supposed to lead a nation of 5 million people. This is not for him. So he has shown us his incompetence by everything. The economy is presiding over a failed economy. He's presiding over a failed social political system. And in a nutshell, he's presiding over what is now gradually becoming a failed state. So until he can come to, I don't know if he has the competence. I don't think he has the competence to fix all of these things, and that is the reason why I agree with some of the colleagues who have been on this show to say that he should be booted out of office.
Thank you. Abby Tyler say my Tabata Liberia problem can't finish. No country problem can finish. As long as people live, there'll always be problem. Mr. Kone, your closing comments, sir.
I think we missed a very interesting debate that was supposed to have been had on July 26th. If you look at the two concepts that went into the rally, one was we have fixed Liberia. That was one side of the debate. And the other side was Weah is fixing Liberia. I would have loved to see those two views intellectualized so that the Liberian people could benefit. I would have loved to see those two issues debated in the absence of violence so that we, the Liberian people, could benefit. Because there are people who believe that Weah is fixing the country, and there are people who believe that Weah is not fixing the country. And I think all of them deserve to be heard. And that's where the political debate would be. Because we are confident that when the accomplishments of this president are made known, or when Liberians are aware of the accomplishment of this president, the decision of rehiring him in the first round would be a very easy decision. So we should refrain from violence. All the political parties should demilitarize their militant unit, so-called militant unit. Let's have our democracy in peace. Let the Liberian people speak peacefully as to who they prefer to be president. Let us not return to violence. Let us have, we can have strong words in disagreement. You know, I mean, Sharif and here, you know, we disagree, but, you know, you've seen the pictures when we meet with brothers. And of course, my sister there, she knows that how the discussion should be. So for me, my closing comment is to appeal to all Liberians, just like my president did, for us to move away from violence.
Just don't be late.
And let us try to have our political differences, you know,
thank you.
Respect for one another and for peace for our country.
Thank you. Continue to watch FOL on the big screen. Mr. Dr. Dukley, continue to send us his picture watching FOL on the big screen. Continue to do that and send us your picture watching FOL on YouTube on your big screen, and we're going to share it. Mrs. Kwongba, you got the last word.
Thank you very much. I want to say thanks to all of the panelists and to Mr. Kumin. You know, I know that you think that I hate George Weah or George Weah is not building their infrastructures amongst infrastructures. There are health sectors amongst health sectors. And we are basing this on the fact that we are live in Europe and he saw what development is all about. Electricity to put up ports that does not even function, it is not even sustainable. We have a problem. But here's what I'm going to say. I understand that those who love George Weah, we don't hate George Weah, as evidenced by some of us who supported him. But because of his, again, we were told this from the beginning. His wife said he does not, he is not able the tax that's coming ahead of him. 5 years into the presidency, we've seen what her word said. And this is my own word. It's not from Tiawan or anything. I just read a lot and I found that article from the perspective. We expected a better leadership under George Weah. That Liberia, under him, better Liberia was possible. But George Weah has failed us miserably, as evidenced by his alignment with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and all of the corrupt BMs he got around him as advisor. Impunity is on the rise. As a result, violence, lawlessness, brutality, killings is on the rise. With Tiawa Gongle will bring law and order. Our political parties, oppositions who are out there need to be strong together and work together. But I can assure you, Tiawa Gongle understands the law. He is a poor man lawyer. He didn't come into power like Cooney mentioned his name working for Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. He resigned because of the corruption. We can work together and defeat George Weah. And what has brought George Weah defeat to the public domain, down to the market women, because he sat there, a Liberian was brutalized on Liberian's Independence Day next to the U.S. Embassy. And it took George Weah 16,000 hours, 7 days to be precise. He has not dismissed.
7 days shouldn't be 16,000 hours. 7 times 24.
Look, do the math for me. Then you tell me that.
Okay.
I will take it back. Yeah.
So yeah, 1 day is 24. So 24 times 7.
Or dismiss Jefferson Koji or Patrick Suru, but yet and say they are taking the little man.
Intelligentsia exaggeration.
No. Don't say that. You know, they are trying to find scapegoat and bring these 7 people they arrested. Watch my word, Dennis. Those 7 people will be released from jail because in Liberia, they do it. I saw it. You commit a crime, you get arrested, they put you in jail, they go and release you, everything died down. We don't want that no more. George Weah has failed himself. He needs to go, and we ensure that he is voted out of office come 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. And for the record, 24 hours in a day, 7 times 24, that's 168 hours.
68 hours.
So it's 168.
Intelligentsia exaggeration.
Vani Vafle says, my Tabata is, what is the present vice president in the person of Jewel Howard Taylor doing for the country now? Her impact in the lives of the people of Liberia. So I don't quite get the Tabata, but who am I to throw out any Tabata? Thank you all for coming. I want to thank our viewers for always watching Focus on Liberia, which is by far one of the best ever. And the panel you're watching, I call them the best panel in all of internet television. Continue to follow us. We are now 501c3. We are live in Liberia. Continue to follow us from around the country and continue to support us.
Yeah, 1,000.
On behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, somebody say I like to play the old music, right? So, but we are all Liberians. That's the message we always want to leave with you, that in spite of the political parties we support, if you even think that people shouldn't demonstrate or Yeke should train his own group, whatever your belief or whatever side you're on, we are all Liberians. And what we need to do is to make sure we do whatever it takes to make our country a glorious land of liberty. That's why we end with the song that says, we are all Liberians. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.